Friend of the show, Congressman Tim Burchett, dropped a bombshell this week when he openly talked about advanced civilizations coming from the bottom of at least 5 to 6 underwater locations that he's aware of. Alien craft or some sort of advanced craft using, I don't know, electromagnetism, etc., or anti-gravity propulsion that are able to come from deep inside our oceans. We here at Redacted have also talked to U.S. military whistleblowers who confirm this to us. Dr. Michael Salla has been on this story for years. He writes at exopolitics.org. And by the way, he's got incredible sources on this, those who have been involved in these underwater base programs as well. Doctor, great to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Clayton.
So I want to play Congressman Burchett's soundbite here so we can hear the congressman in his own words. This isn't some random kook. He's a member of Congress. Watch.
What if these are entities that are here on this earth, that have been on this earth, that who knows how long, and that we think they're coming in from way out. Maybe they did millennia ago, but they're here and they're in these deep water areas. And that's why, I mean, like we say, we know more about the face of the moon than we do what's going on there. Now, we have a higher propensity of sightings around these 5 or 6, I believe, deep water areas. And so to me, it just, it creates a question there. And then when we have naval personnel telling me that we have these sightings and that there's these underwater craft they're chasing that are doing hundreds of miles an hour, and the best we've got is something that does maybe just a little under 40 miles an hour. So I got a lot of questions about that stuff, and I
have a lot of questions about that too. Dr. Salla, what did you make of his comments there? Does this pair up with things that you've reported over the years and written about?
Definitely, yes. And it's good to emphasize that Congressman Burchette, I mean, he's been talking to a lot of very senior whistleblowers, people from the military, from senior ranks of the executive branch, or from any source that has some information about the UFO issue that they have been reporting to Congress through whistleblowers. And this is an official process. And you mentioned the UFO hearing last week on September 9. So we actually have whistleblowers appearing before Congress talking about their experiences. Now, what we have here from Tim Burchett is something pretty remarkable, that he's been told things about these underwater civilizations that is probably one of the most highly kept secrets in terms of what the U.S. Navy is doing in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, the U.S. Navy does have an Area 51 in the ocean. It's called AUTEC, which is the Atlantic Undersea Testing and Evaluation Center. It's on Andros Island, which is actually part of the Bahamas. So think about that you actually have this submarine base, this top secret submarine base, Andros Island, which is not even part of the United States. And right there in that diagram, you can see Andros Island with AUTEC. And just to the right of it is Tongue of the Ocean, which is a very deep part of the ocean there in the Bahamas. It drops off immediately around 3,000 feet. And so that's ideal for a submarine, but it's also a place where people have seen many UFOs, many underwater craft coming into and leaving the water. So there've been a lot of UFO sightings in that area. And I've actually got 2 witnesses who actually have been to locations under the water near the AUTEC.
So hold on a second. So you have 2 witnesses that have been working on these, I guess you could call them secret space programs, even though they're under the water by all accounts, that have been to these underwater bases basically in the Bermuda Triangle area. Is that right?
That's right, yes. 2 independent whistleblowers, people who have been participants in secret space programs that have talked about their experiences. And these were experiences that were like over 40 years apart. So the one that I first began to discuss was with this Army insider who still goes by the pseudonym JP. Those are just the initials of his name. And at the time, he was serving with the US Army, and he was called on a mission where he went to a ocean platform. He was taken there by a Black Hawk helicopter with 3 other personnel. One was a diplomat. And then they boarded a submarine that was crewed by these, they were kind of like Nordic-looking beings. They were very, very tall, like 6'9", 6'10". And he says that they went down in this submarine. It wasn't a US Navy submarine. It was something that had really advanced technologies inside it. The ceilings were very, very high, like 10 foot. So clearly not a US submarine. And he said it was very likely able to go out into space as well. So it was capable of both going into the ocean at high speeds and also flying into the atmosphere and out into space. But he says he went in that submarine and he was taken down with the other personnel, and it was part of a diplomatic mission. And they were taken down to this underwater city that was under a dome. And he said that in this dome, this giant dome, he said it was a city that looked like Dubai. It was a very big city like Dubai, and in the middle of it was this massive white pyramid. And he says that he and 2 of the other guys that were there, part of the mission, had to wait while the diplomat went and made contact and then came back with an artifact, and that their mission was to bring that artifact back to the surface. So that was JP, and that's been described in that, that was first described in an August 2022 article I wrote on my website. And then not long after that, I came across the second testimony of an independent witness, and he actually drew an underwater city in that area. In 1979, he was taken there as a 10-year-old, and he was there and he saw these.
I was going to say, this looks like the drawing of a 10-year-old. And so he was 10 years old when he drew this? He was taken there at 10 years old?
Exactly. Yes, he was taken there at 10. He was also part of a secret space program. They often identify these talented youngsters, and he was one of them that had special skills. He was a contactee, and so he was part of a secret space program. But he was taken there at 10, and that is evidence. What you showed there, that's a drawing from a 10-year-old in 1979. So that's over 40 years old. So you can carbon test it and determine that this was written by a 10-year-old, and he describes 3 underwater domes, and that there were cities, there were structures inside. And so that's very, very close. That's corroboration for what JP described. Now, and they both have described the location of this in the Bahamas, in the Bermuda Triangle. And so that has gotten me to kind of like speculate that it is very close, likely, to ORTEC, which is the Navy's Area 51.
Now, to be clear on that drawing, because people in the chat room are like, well, what 10-year-old dates their drawing? I don't think that 10-year-old dated the drawing, right? I think it's...
Oh, yes, he dated it.
Oh, he did? He wrote the date on it?
Yes, he wrote it. I think it's 15/1/79. Oh, yeah, 15/1/79, which is, he's French, so that's 15th of January, 1979. And his parents saw this. I mean, he told his parents that he had been taken there. So his parents are witnesses, and he says he came back from that experience in the Bahamas with sand. And so his parents saw the sand and said, well, where have you been? And he said, the Bahamas. And they were living in in Paris at the time. And so they were very supportive of him and didn't dismiss him, and they are now witnesses that yes, he did draw this in 1979. That yes, he came back from what he said was a an experience in the Bahamas in 1979, and he saw these 3 underwater domes where there were these structures within them, exactly matching what JP says he saw over 40 years later.
I don't know if you know that microplastics are infiltrating every part of our lives. Scientists estimate we now consume a credit card's worth of plastic every single week through our food, water, even the air we breathe. One study found plastic particles in 100% of human lung samples. You don't want that. Nobody is safe from exposure. It gets worse, though. These plastics don't just sit in your body. They cross the gut lining. They leach into your blood, and they disrupt everything. But there's one thing that actually can help stop it, and that's right. It is actually fermented foods, kimchi. And our friends at Brightcore have created Kimchi 1, which is a potent ally in this toxic world. It's packaged with over 900 probiotic strains unique to kimchi, and it's proven, scientifically proven, to break down these plastics, these BPAs, and help you detox from the inside out. It doesn't just support digestion. It helps protect your cells, your brain, your hormones, your future. Your body was never meant to handle plastic, but your gut was designed to protect you, so you just have to give it the right tools in order to do that. Right now, you can get 25% off with our code REDACTED if you use the link below. If you go to mybrightcore.com/redacted, mybrightcore.com/redacted, you get 25% off. You get 50% off, though, if you get on the phone with them and you call them. And you'll get a free bottle of vitamin D3 as well. Just call them 1-888-404-6312, and you'll get free shipping as well. Yeah, you'll get 50% off and free shipping. So go to mybrightcore.com/redacted or call them and save even more money. 888-404-6312. So when you mentioned Area 51, and basically this is like an underground version of that. We've also heard from U.S. admirals. Like, these aren't just like schleps off the street. I mean, U.S. admirals have now gone on the record about interacting with these craft that they're seeing coming out of the water. Is there like 1 or 2 specific cases that you might tell us about that? So I think we had a U.S. admiral only just a few months ago confirming this, right?
Tim Gallaudet, yes. Well, there's a famous incident from Lake Baikal in Russia, where there were a team of Russian divers that were training, and they saw several luminous beings that were like 10 foot tall, kind of like rising up out of the depth of the ocean. And so they were told to go and capture one of these beings. So they went back into the water with the mission of capturing one of the beings. And when they tried to capture one of the beings, then a weapon hit them, and it kind of like sent them immediately to the surface. And unfortunately, they died from the bends because that was quite a depth that they were operating from. But so that was one example of these intelligent beings that was cited by Russian special forces.
And do we have documentation of them having died of the bends? Like, has that been confirmed?
Yes, that was an incident that was reported by Russian UFO researchers, that this is part of the overall phenomenon of UFOs sighted in the Soviet Union, and that, yes, there are many cases that have emerged because, unlike the United States, when the Soviet Union collapsed, a lot of these files concerning UFOs that had been kept secret were suddenly released. And that was because a lot of former intelligence agents from the Soviet Union era, from the Warsaw Pact. So you could imagine Polish intelligence officers all of a sudden, they have all of this material, and it's like, well, we're not part of the Warsaw Pact anymore, and so let's sell them and make some money. And that's what happened. So a lot of this material came out. And there was a special by Roger Moore, Secrets from the Iron Curtain, I believe it came out in the 1990s, where a lot of this kind of material came out.
Before I let you go, Doctor, I mean, you look at last week and you look at this UFO hearing. It happened on September 9th. We were set to have a couple of people from, I think we were supposed to have Congressman Burchett on the show. We were supposed to have James Fox on the show the next day. And of course, we canceled all of it in the wake of what happened with Charlie Kirk on September 10th. But there was a lot of news that came out of there. I mean, maybe you could give us maybe some of your biggest takeaways from this UAP hearing last week.
Well, there were several new whistleblowers that talked about sightings that they experienced while serving in the military, and there were some videos released. And the most spectacular one showed an orb that was actually hit by a missile, and the missile passed through it, and the orb separated into 4 bits. And so this is captured on film, and you see this kind of orb that moves off. Now it's broken up into 4 bits, and of course people can look at that and say, well, you know, what kind of UFO survives a hit from a missile that was kind of like only a short distance away? So it made a direct impact, and this kind of splitting of a UFO into multiple pieces. This often happens with UFO sightings, that people see these UFOs, they split, and then they join up a little later. So it kind of shows that what you're dealing with is some kind of plasma consciousness of the craft that knows how to separate and how to rejoin. So that's a kind of a very unique aspect of these UFOs. Another kind of like critical thing that I think emerged from the September 9 hearing is that a lot of these whistleblowers are being intimidated, that they are being threatened, and that there have been efforts to kind of close them down. And so, you know, this is where there's a real need for whistleblower protection, and that these congressional hearings serve an important function in like giving these whistleblowers an opportunity to share their stories and to be kind of like protected by coming out into the public arena. Because if there's one thing that is very dangerous for whistleblowers is if they reveal what they have experienced and they don't have much of a public profile, they can be very easily eliminated. And that has happened.
That's right. They have been eliminated. There's been plenty of reports of that happening, and these people are silenced or they're driven off the road, and it's absolutely terrible. Dr. Michael Salla, thank you so much for joining us once again. I appreciate it. Where can people learn more about all of your writings, by the way?
They can just go to exopolitics.org or my podcast, which is exopoliticstoday.com.
All right, Dr. Michael Salla, great to have you here as well. By the way, can I just ask you, how do you deal with like the ridicule? Because, you know, you get I love covering this stuff because I think absolutely we're not alone in the universe. And I think the government is lying to us about what these relationships are with these off-world vehicles and what crash retrieval programs we have inside the United States government. What do we know? You know, you just keep on going. And I love that. Like, there'll be people that are like, this is foolish. This is crazy. How do you keep going?
Well, I've been doing this for 24 years now, and people said I was crazy back when I had a full-time position at university, that I would focus on this stuff. And of course, I didn't care, because to me, it was the future. I mean, this is reality. I mean, if I didn't think that this was real, I wouldn't be doing this for so long, and you know, have suffered all of the kind of career consequences. But I knew it was real then. I know it's real now, and so I'll just keep doing this. And I'm very grateful that, you know, your show has been given these issues a lot of exposure. But I'm very glad that the U.S. Congress has finally stepped forward and is now doing these hearings, because once the U.S. Congress gets involved, this is very, very serious. And the members of Congress, Tim Burchett, Anna Paulina Luna, and the others, Nancy Mace, they're doing a really good job in showing that this is not a laughing matter. This is not nothing to be ridiculed about. This is dealing with important secrets that are being denied to the US Congress, and it deals with kind of life-saving technologies.
Right. I mean, 0-point energy, free energy, the ability to travel instantaneously, and they've kept this information from us. They've kept this technology from us. Hopefully the chickens are coming home to roost now. Dr. Salla, great to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.